The Minecraft 1.16 pre-releases are finally here, so it's time to prepare ourselves and figure out what we are going to want to be building with in our new bases in those 1.16 worlds. I have some blocks here with colors that I wanted to experiment with. This gradient here is a fantastic example of how versatile this Blackstone is, as well as the basalt. I hope I'm saying that right. Wonderful as a pillar block, absolutely game-changing. I love the way that that looks. It's so easy to use in a gradient like that because we already have so many of these gray colors. And the pop of color from the warped and the crimson wood here, just so many different things can be done. For example, the first thing that I thought of was any form of fantasy architecture. I spawned in this village here, so excuse me while I play with it. I love these new pillar options. Before I would find myself using these wood a lot more, but now we have an option that is actually gray and a pillar and it's not acacia wood. So that is really, really fun. I think that's going to be so useful to use. Definitely going to use these warped blocks as an outline on a roof here. It adds such a nice pop of color and it's going to go great with Prismarine, my favorite block, but it also is going to go great with these neutrals, the Blackstone. It's definitely not hard for me to imagine putting these blocks to use in a variety of builds. I mean, come on, they're so cool! There's so much to take in here. I'm so excited, and this is only a fraction of what has been added in the game. I mean, first, chains, and twisted vines. I mean, the fantasy elements that are going to be possible here is incredible. Oddly enough though, the first build that I would like to do is actually not fantasy. I've been looking at a different style. Let's head to Google for a second and Google Gothic architecture. Yeah, incredible. That's the plan. I need to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do when I'm playing with a style that I haven't really experimented with in a really long time is, well, figure out what I need to do on a small scale. Usually I pick a little tower like this and I'm like, well, let's just try it and see what happens, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. There's a lot to take in here. I mean, we had a lot of gray blocks before, but they were all pretty much the same tone. See what I mean? Now, granted, we had more than this. We also had the wool and the cyan terracotta, but our area in the dark gray to black that actually had stairs and slabs, it was pretty much non-existent. I'm so happy to have these blocks. The colors that I'm going to be focusing on this video is this gray to black gradient, and I think this is going to work out so well for my Gothic build. I'm so excited about the possibility of new details that we have now with this coming out, and I think this style really lends itself to it. So I think it's about time I get started at this. I'm excited to play with these colors. Let me know down in the comments what you've been playing with 1.16 first before I spoil my own build. Anyways, let's go see it. The last time I attempted Gothic architecture was in 2017, so it's been a long time for me. I definitely use lots of those images from Google as inspiration for my design here. Overall, my first idea was to go for a castle, but honestly, a Gothic cathedral sounds way more fun, so that's the shape that I ended up going with in the end. This design has a lot of detail in it. I tried my hardest to avoid having any flat walls at all, putting in big epic windows, lots of towers, lots of spikes, just as much detail as I could possibly squeeze into a little area. I'm using that Blackstone to my advantage on the roof, and also using that basalt to my advantage for the pillars, which I think works out so well. I'm using the color cyan as an accent so that I can tie in that warped wood. The crimson would work just as well here, I just picked a preference. So, building process is going well. I do think, however, that this build sticks out a little bit like a sore thumb. I mean, big, Gothic, kind of cathedral thing. I mean, it's also proportioned weirdly. It's not long enough this way, I don't think. It's a weird build, but it's a weird location for the build. I think I'd like to have this in a world where it's a little darker. Maybe a biome like a swamp or a dark oak forest would suit it better, so I can have a little bit more of that creepy vibe of a forest kind of creeping up around it. Maybe some gateways, some fences. Oh, we could get some of those new mushrooms in as well. Yeah, okay, definitely time to get to work on that. Let's move the build. This build location works much better and the terrain is way more inspiring, so let's get to work on the rest of the surroundings. I decided I'd like to add a couple of other buildings to help add context to this world, rather than it just being a literal cathedral in the middle of nowhere. I did this little house off to the side, or rather tower, to house a portal. I think that's going to be the best way to do this, and if this was a world that I was actually living in, I think I'd appreciate that. Also, big fancy gates. This goes with the theme so well and allows me the opportunity to kind of section off one area that isn't going to be foresty, so it looks a little bit more built up. Then I work on this little side building. Originally I was going to have this be a separate building, but actually it completely fixes our proportional areas if I just tack it right onto the back of that big cathedral. So that ended up being what I did with that, and it worked out perfectly. With that all thrown together, now it's just time for the details. Little fences, a couple more towers, some trees, and an interior, and then we are good to go. I can't wait to show you the final result, guys. Minecraft 1.16 is going to be so powerful. Look at what becomes possible. Oh my gosh, these vines, this soul soil, I have it mixed in with soul sand as well in spots, and oh my gosh, what a game changer. I cannot wait to continue playing with this even more. I can already tell that this would look amazing in a fantasy scene, even though I know I've avoided it in this build. But the Gothic architecture just had to be done. It had to be done, you know? I really tried to go all out with my details on this build, adding as many spikes as possible, and we have so many of these gray colors. Another block that I probably should have explored is the cauldron. Where's the cauldron? Right here. I mean, that's a great block to go along any roof edge. Didn't take great advantage of those shapes. Maybe next time I can do that, but I mean, I think I've done pretty well. I love this with the hint of gold in it. I think it looks great for this clock up here on all sides. I've tried to mix in a little bit of color by creating this tree that was a blend of the prismarine and the warped wood and the dark prismarine. I love this. I don't love the shape of the tree. I think I'd like to expand on that idea even more. Maybe do a big fantasy tree, maybe in the nether. Oh my gosh, I think that would look amazing. Maybe with some mushrooms growing out of it with the crimson. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas when I look at everything going on here, and I hope that you guys do too. Let's step inside for a moment. I've used change to my advantage to hang off a lot of the areas in here, and that is definitely evident on the inside of this cathedral. Oh my goodness. There's just so much to take in with this update. There's so much going on. So many amazing new things have been added. So many opportunities for detail beyond just hanging lanterns off of pillars as well. But this is only my first build in the update, so I've definitely got some work to do with it, some exploring to do, and I'm excited to get to work on that. This shroom light I think is actually so beautiful, because previously we had glowstone, which Glowstone's a pretty harsh texture. I've seen people call these very much alike, and I can see the similarity in texture, but I appreciate the warmth that comes out of this one a lot more. Let me show you an example. I wanted to leave my windows open in this, but if we wanted to close them and not do the interior, we could add a really lovely warm light behind our windows using this. Look at that. I mean, I am definitely going to be using that for some of my larger builds where I'm maybe not doing interior all the way up through. That's so useful, and that would glow so well at night. As a comparison, there is the glowstone in that same exact window, and it is a lot more harsh. I wouldn't really want to put that in my window. It's almost cobbly looking. I don't love it. The shroom light is definitely one that I'm going to be using for this effect quite often. As some bonus points right at the end of the video, if you made it this far, let me know, and thank you so much. I'm sure you're wondering how this was filmed since Minecraft 1.16 isn't fully out yet, and there's obviously no mods, and I obviously used mods in this. Well, let me tell you, my amazing friend and admin, Rowling, made me a texture pack. Oh dear. Now you know. Now you know. That's how this video was filmed. I am on 1.16 right now. Some of the video was filmed on 1.16, some of it was filmed a little lower. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed, and yeah, my secret's out. Thanks so much for supporting the channel, everyone. I hope I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!